Hello there, dear loving souls. Welcome back to this channel. Today we will be talking all about sleep time healing on the topic of our chakras. Okay, so sleep time healing and dealing with our chakras. Now, I suggest you grab a glass of water or a cup of tea or a cup of coffee for this topic. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be different to anything I've done before. I've got a cup of tea here with me, and as always, part one will be me delving more into the facts so that you can understand what is it that I'm talking about exactly for this video series, what's Victoria on about when it comes to nighttime healing or sleep time healing, and what's that to do with your chakras. Part two will be the application of the universal laws and the facts that were discussed, as well as some practical tips as to this subject matter. And part three, we will delve into some messages from the spirit, from our ancestors, angels and guardian angels, to give us a little bit more insight or perhaps clarity as to what does it mean when you are trying to heal your chakras when you're sleeping. So, in terms of the facts, right, so I was inspired to talk about this video series because I've noticed that in a few videos over the last, months or so, I have kind of, sown a seed about the fact that you can do some things at night when we're sleeping, but it didn't really make sense for me to talk about that in the particular video series, that I have filmed in the past. So now I decided, right, I'm drawn to actually start talking a little bit as to some sleep time healing. Usually, obviously, people sleep at night. I appreciate that some of you might be working night shifts, but the whole point is that when you're sleeping, you can still heal. And there's a bunch of practices that I do or complete in order to actually give myself the best chance of my spiritual work, developing my spirituality, getting more insights and answers from the universe, healing myself. There's a lot that can be done when you're about to go to sleep and you're sleeping. And as a result of that, I just kind of wondered about what bits and bobs would I want to really tackle for this video series, and I was drawn to talk about chakras. Okay, now chakras are energetic points or focal points. Usually we have 7 of them, or you might be familiar with having 7 of them, but some spiritual beliefs out there understand or of the view that there are more. Trust your heart, put your hand on your heart and just trust whatever it is that comes your way in terms of how many you've got. I've got my own thoughts about chakras, which we will discuss in this video series, but that's what the inspiration is. I am a big believer that by design, we've come here to experience planet Earth in all its glory, and that's going through a cycle of day and night, and we have a bunch of abilities and things that we can do during day and night, and that includes using our talents and gifts that we're actually born with, that we have inherently in us, and applying them when we're sleeping. So when the physical body is getting the rest that it needs, by design it needs that rest, needs time to recover. That doesn't mean that the spiritual body is sleeping at that time, right? So as spirit, as souls, we can do a lot during that time, or during your sleep time, and this is what the video series is all about. Now, the universal laws, as always, I try and talk about 3. And the first one that comes to mind is that we are all a spiritual being having a human experience when we're here on planet Earth. A spiritual being, well, what does it mean? It's all, all matter is made up of energy, including our spirit, our soul. Matter can't be created or destroyed. We are effectively eternal beings, divine beings as well, made up of light and love. And because we're a spiritual being having a human experience, the human experience, as I mentioned, includes going through the pattern of day and night, day to night, day to night. And just because a human body might need some time to recover and rest, lie down on a bed and sleep, and undergo whatever biological processes happen to us during that time, I think our spirit has its own role as well during those periods of time, and this is where we can tap into things like connecting with the universe, connecting with the spirit world, taking care of ourselves in many shapes and forms, including healing and healing chakras, which is what we're going to be talking about today. The second universal law I really want to get into is this connection to all, including the spirit world. Okay, it's that one where you've heard me many times over talking about that we are actually all connected in unison, even though it's hard to believe that because of the way our physical lives have been designed for the human experience. There's certain things we simply cannot see, or we perceive things in a certain manner for a reason, by design. But we have connection to everything and everyone, including the spirit world, and part of the healing that you will do at night when you're sleeping includes actually asking for assistance from our ancestors, our angels, our guardian angels, our ascended masters, and your own higher self. And we will talk about some practical things of this. I will expand more on that in part 2 of this video series. And then the third universal law I wanted to talk about, which is inherently, what are we? In my belief, and I think it is a universal law, I believe it is anyway, is that we are inherently all light or love. Those are sort of synonymous for me in terms of the energy that it is. And as you will have known, light breaks up into a variety of colors on planet Earth, in human realm. So when light hits the glass, right, it reflects the different frequencies that make up each color, which in turn makes up the rainbow, going from beautiful colors of red all the way to your indigos and your violets, right? And hear me out. I think rainbows are magical. I know you've gotten accustomed to seeing rainbows in the sky. Think about for a moment. What else is out there in planet Earth that is just as magical as a rainbow, literally in the sky? Different shapes and forms, right? And it's huge. We've got a lot of myths and understandings or beliefs about rainbows. But I just think the fact that we can see all these colors that actually make up one line, I think this is just a reminder on planet Earth, or it's trying to reach out to our inner truth, our inner soul, to remind us that, hey, that's what we actually are. That you might be able to see things or hear things in a particular way when you're traveling through this lifetime on planet Earth, but inherently there's magic and miracles all around you. Just look at the rainbow, which is literally the light. And everything is made out of light. The reason you can see is because of the way that light refracts on objects and whatnot. So, the whole point of it is, why I'm talking about colors is because chakras are actually represented with a particular color, right? You can go from, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, and we'll talk about those in part 2 in more depth. But just don't forget that we are all ultimately light. Everything around us is light, and light is composed or comprised of a variety of frequencies that make up different colors. So I hope that's clear, but let's just jump into part 2. Click on the link down below and I'll be able to expand on some of these in a little bit more depth. See you shortly in part 2, team.